What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. As usual, I'm your host, Patrick Hansen, joined tonight by the man, Brian DeGennaro. How we doing, Brian?
Great. Thank you.
Big flexing. Listen, Yankee spring training is well underway. However, before we do start talking about Austin Wells tonight, everyone, you guys know the drill by now. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Be sure to do that. Helps out the channel a bunch. We're inching very closely to 1,000 subs, so let's get there fairly quickly. So tonight, I do want to talk about Austin Wells. Catcher in the Yankees organization. I believe they drafted him 2020 out of college. He's turning heads already in spring training. Obviously reported when pitchers and catchers did, along with Anthony Siegler, I believe, who's another top catching prospect in the Yankees organization, who's a switch hitter. But personally, looking at like the Yankees catcher depth as far as prospects go, I think Austin Wells is probably my favorite out of the bunch. Not only just giving him like the eye test, but also looking at scouting reports of him. Scouts believe he's a combination between Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, which is like high standards, obviously. But looking at him and looking like at his college stats and his expected performance in the future, it's not that overblown. So recently there was an article in the New York Post that's kind of like Austin Wells has already gained the Yankees' attention, and there's some quotes from what Aaron Boone has said about him, and I want to touch on this really quick, and then we can get your input on it. He said, "I really like his swing. One of the things that stands out to me that I didn't necessarily know is how strong he is. He's as strong as anyone in camp, especially when you test him." Brian, I know we haven't seen too much of Austin Wells. He hasn't even played a minor league game with the Yankees so far. But just based on like what you've seen, like what are you expecting out of him this spring and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like you said, in 2018, we actually drafted two catchers in the first two rounds. One was Anthony Siegler. The other one was Josh Bro, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So it's interesting that they went with catcher again in 2020 in the first round. And I think this guy is just that good. The Yankees tried to draft him a couple of years ago out of high school in like the 35th round or something like that, and he elected to go to college. But they got their man, and the Yankees like when they do that. So he's a really powerful left-handed bat, which is something that the Yankees haven't had in a long time. And obviously he's at least 3 or 4 years out from actually being in the major leagues. But, seeing how much catcher depth the Yankees have in their farm system is really reassuring. I mean, we don't know what the future is going to hold for Gary. Obviously, we're rooting for Gary. We want him to do the best that he can, but his contract, his arbitration is going to end soon, and they're going to have to either give him a contract or let him walk. So, it's nice to know that we have all these big prospects coming up. And like you said, Anthony Siegler is very highly regarded, but I think for some reason, Austin Wells is even more highly regarded. So I'm excited to see what he's got. It'll be good to see him in the minor leagues this year and even in camp to see what he's got. So,
yeah. Honestly, when you mentioned Gary, I think that's an important note of Austin Wells that we should touch on too. And I think the emergence of Wells, having not even played a minor league game yet and already turning heads in the Yankees organization, I'd hope that maybe this spring, let's say Wells lights spring training camp on fire, right? And then goes on and starts off in AA, let's say, hypothetically, and just rakes there this season. I think Gary might feel some fire underneath him. And Gary already, I hope, has that fire underneath him after a brutal 2020 season where he spoke about this in our last episode. Gary hopefully finally realizes that the starting spot just isn't his automatically. There's easily guys, he might not be that scared of Kyle Higashioka taking over his spot, but the emergence of a young guy like Austin Wells that has to at least apply the pressure to Gary Sanchez and maybe just get him to start thinking, if I don't perform at a certain level, I'm gone. So I think this year is not only a huge year for Austin Wells, like we mentioned, it's a huge year for Gary Sanchez, because I think the performance of Gary Sanchez this year also kind of determines the future and MLB ETA of Austin Wells moving forward. You think so too?
Yeah, for sure. And there's another thing that we have to note here is that Austin Wells has some versatility. In college, he played first base, he played some outfield, so he might not necessarily end up as a catcher. And like we said, we have tons of catching depth in the farm system already, so he could end up at first base, which would be fine too. But apparently, it's his bat that's going to get him to the majors. So
yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, comparing like Siegler and Wells, me and Derek of MYY Recaps, we did an awesome podcast just comparing the two. And based on doing research of the both of them, I think it's a fair comparison to say that Austin Wells seems like the better hitter of the two, but Anthony Siegler seems like he's better of the two in the catcher department.
Right.
So defense wise, Anthony Siegler's the guy. And I could honestly see the Yankees going forward with him as the catcher and using Wells as more of like a versatile bat. Maybe they throw him at first base, maybe they throw him in the outfield. But I think it's very interesting to see like just the emergence of him so far.
Sure, and that could be the future platoon, right? I mean, theoretically, you could have Wells and Siegler, back to back a catcher. Maybe Siegler more as a designated hitter. I mean, not Siegler. Wells more as a designated hitter, and Siegler being the main catcher, but something like that.
I mean, also, the kid has just like a fiery personality. Like, this is a quote that I do want to mention. Like after he got drafted. And obviously the conversations came up like whether or not he was going to remain a catcher. He said, I'm a catcher and I want to be a catcher. And I know I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to the big leagues. So if that is at another position, then I will hit home runs at Yankee Stadium and play wherever they need me to. Being a catcher is what I want to do, but wherever my bat gets me to the big leagues, the quickest for sure. And that's exactly what we touched on. I love this man so much. But it's like, he basically just described what we said. He has the bat where the Yankees could possibly bring him up to the major leagues as soon as, I'm going to be honest, I could see him up in the major leagues as soon as sometime in the 2022 season, just because of how awesome his bat is. If he rakes, the Yankees will find a way to put his left-handed bat in the Bronx, and that's easy. I think they're going to take their time with Siegler a little bit more, but Wells, I think, just like he mentioned in his interview, he could be on a fast track to the majors just because of his bat and his versatility as far as playing wise goes.
That'd be awesome. Now you got me excited.
Just saying. But that is going to wrap things up for us today. Everyone, be sure we like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. But we do go live every night at 9 p.m. Eastern time and daily uploads every day at 12 p.m. Eastern time as well. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate you all. Have a good day. Peace.